Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, you're extremely welcome. I'm Jane, my husband Mike does everything behind the camera. We're British, early retirees, we've got no debt, we've paid off the mortgage, and we live a thrifty, frugal and money-saving life here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Sunday we share with you an aspect of our private lives, the things that we do personally all the time to save money. And this week, we're going to have a look at the topic of frugality and why Mike and I will be forever frugal. Now, frugality means different things to different people, but if we were to look at the textbook meaning of it and just took it at its simplest form, frugality is all about spending less so we can save more, so we've got the money for things that matter to us. So whether you are frugal to save for a house deposit, whether you are frugal to save for retirement, whether you're frugal to save for paying off debt, or whether you're frugal to be incredibly generous to your family, to your children, to your grandchildren, for whatever reason, being frugal is all about spending less on the everyday and saving more for the things that are important to us. And that is the textbook meaning. Let's get straight into this. We could easily, with our income that we've got now, that comes from the money we earn on the side from our YouTube channel, where we put out 3 videos every week, and our 2 direct benefits pensions. So we could easily live paycheck to paycheck on that. We could easily spend it all, and it wouldn't take much to do it. So I've come up with a sort of a bit of arithmetic of how we could spend it all. If we had a meal out every week, a cheap meal here, a cheap lunch here is 20 euros. So, and that's nowhere fancy. That is not a posh restaurant. That's like a menu ouvrier. That's like a lunchtime workers fixed price menu. We might be able to get it a bit cheaper in some places, but on average, it's about 20 euros. And that wouldn't include a coffee. That wouldn't include a Coca-Cola or an Orangina, and it definitely wouldn't include any alcohol. So that would be 40 a week or 160 a month. The next one, if we went out, took the car, parked the car, went to a city, paid to park, had a walk around, had a coffee, bought a little something to eat, just spent a bit of money, that could be another 50 a month. If I was to spend money on crafting, on hobbies, on quilting, that kind of thing, easily. And I know people who spend 50 euros or more a month quilting and crafting. Then what if we had TV subscriptions? What if we had Paramount? If we had Amazon Prime? If we had Netflix? If we had all of those sort of things, we could easily spend another 50 euros a month. Then what if we spent maybe another 50 euros a month each on clothes? And that's not much, is it? One bra, 50 euros, go on. We could easily spend more money on clothes. What if we like to go to brocants and vitrinières, and we like to go into around charity shops and Emmaus and buying bits and pieces for our house? Another 50 euros a month. What if when we went to the supermarket, we were buying meat for every meal, nice fish, we were going to the local bakery, if we were going to the market every single week and buying things from artisans, small suppliers, we could add another 40 euros to our food budget. And if you add up all of that together, 40 euros a week, that's 160 a month. That comes to 570 a month. And that on average is our long-term savings every month. So we could easily, if we were not on a budget, if we weren't careful with our money, if we weren't directing our money, if we weren't saving first, if we weren't doing all of those frugal things, we could easily burn through that much money. And we're not talking there about anything big or extravagant or over the top. We're talking about things that everyday, normal, ordinary people that I know do all of the time. And they are not wealthy people, they just choose to spend their money and not save it. There's another reason that we stay forever frugal, because at 60 years old, which I am this year, Mike is 60 next year, we have lived through many economics ups and downs from the wider economy of just living, really. We lived through the 1970s and galloping inflation in the UK. If you came from a working class family, you lived in the northeast of the UK, you lived in the rural part of Wales, or you lived in rural Cornwall like I did, and you had a very working class family, you had parents who didn't have any qualifications, who left school at 14 and brought you up, you will have known firsthand what it was like to live through those times. They were tough. If you'd have grown up in the 1980s and you'd have seen 1 in 10 British people unemployed, and then you'd have gone on again and saw boom and bust. You saw negative equity in houses. You saw people struggling on 15% interest rate buying their houses in the 80s. And then, of course, we go to the 2007 economic crash, and the country's bailing out the banks and the ordinary people just paying the price for it. And part of that economic ups and downs, those of us in the UK, when a new government came along in 2010, they imposed austerity measures, which meant a complete freeze on government spending. So schools didn't get rebuilt, schools didn't get upgraded, hospital projects didn't get done. And that had a knock-on effect of not just the economy, but in communities as well. But that austerity for all of the people, from whether they work for the armed forces, whether they were teachers, doctors, nurses, social workers, bin men, lollipop ladies, anybody who worked for the NHS, they had a pay freeze for the next 10 years. And that pay freeze obviously meant, in real terms, with the cost of living going up, their quality of life was going down a little bit all of the time. When they did get a pay rise that came along in like 2018, they got 1%. So they really hadn't done very well at all. And that meant, of course, without those pay rises, that pension payments didn't go up either, which meant people like Mike and I living now, and all of those other people who are retired now, their pensions are worth a lot less than they would have been if our salaries had kept up with the cost of living, and we'd have had that, sort of 5% pay increase each year, which we didn't get, nobody got. So if that had gone up and our pension contributions had gone up, we'd have much bigger pensions. And I think the maths that I got from one of the unions that put out information on that is those of us with pensions now, say Mike and I as a couple, are about €500 a month worse off now with our pensions than we would have been if our pay and pensions had kept up with the cost of living. So there's another reason, isn't there, to be forever frugal. The next part about why we are forever frugal is that it is absolutely true that the small things add up. It is the aggregation of marginal gains. And if you know our channel, you'll know I talk about this on a regular basis. Those consistent things that we do every day, all of the time, all add up. Every time we meal plan, every time we cook at home, we cook 98% of all of our meals at home every single day. Every time I have a shopping list, every time I use the supermarket apps. This week, for example, I saved €3.47. On average, I save €4.50 every single time I go to the supermarket. That adds up to a saving of about €234 a year. It all adds up. Every single time I buy generic and I don't buy at the supermarket, I save on average 50%. An example would be if I were to use a branded shampoo, a big branded shampoo at the moment here in France is OGX. A bottle of OGX is €8. When I buy my supermarket's own brand shampoo, I do so when there's an offer or a deal or some kind of sale on. I get 20% off or 20% cash back on my card. And I usually get my shampoo for €1 a bottle. Same with hair shampoo, with hair conditioner. The same with when I buy any toiletries, when I buy any moisturizer or anything at all really. I'm usually buying it at the supermarket. I buy it when it's on discount, and these things all add up. Every time we have a quick shower, every time that we save the water. So I run the tap, I wait for the hot water to come through, I save that water. I put that in a bowl, I use it for rinsing my dishes or watering the garden or flushing the toilet. I don't waste water. Every single time that I put my washing machine on at night, I'm saving about 25% on my electricity. The same when I'm using the dishwasher at night. Every time I hang my washing outside to dry and I don't use the tumble dryer. All of these things, they might seem small, but they all add up. Every time that we turn the lights off, that we don't leave a room with a light on, that we don't heat rooms that are not needed to be heated. Every time that we use solar gain to keep our house warm, making sure the curtains are pulled back, that if it's a warm day, because I have an old stone house, that I leave the windows open to let the warm air in. Things like that. And it's the old expression, isn't it, that if you look after the pennies, the pounds look after themselves. And it might seem inconsequential to save little tiny bits here, there and everywhere, but they really, really add up. Every time that we buy supermarket own brand coffee, not branded coffee, every single time it is saving us a really good percentage. And like I said, if you look after those pennies, the pounds will look after themselves. Which brings me to my last point of why we are forever frugal. Now, we have been doing this for quite a while now. It's just part of who we are. And it gives us not just some financial security, but it gives us emotional security as well. It gives us the peace of mind knowing that all of those years of being frugal, of being careful, of saving money means the safety is there of an emergency fund. And we've built it up over time, that it's come from 1 month to 3 months and so on. That we've built up our long-term savings, and to the point that if we have to, as we've had recently, pay a security deposit for the next property that we're buying. We're leaving this property, we've sold this property, we are moving to another area in France. We had to pay a security deposit for that house. We've had to pay our removal costs before we go. We've had to pay some of the legal costs before we went. We had to spend out several thousands getting this property finished and ready for the market before it could go on the market for sale. And we have got the security, the peace of mind of knowing that we have it within us by being frugal, by saving our money, to build up those savings again. Obviously, some of the money will come back from the selling of the house to top up our emergency funds and our long-term savings. But there are other things that, we just have to build up those savings again. And once you've got into that routine and rhythm that yes, savings build up, and then it comes to a point where you have to spend them and they are depleted, that you know that you can build them up again by just that everyday, thrifty, frugal living, where you live on less than you save, more than you spend. It's not a massive percentage more that we save than the difference that we spend, but it makes a difference, because like those small aggregation of marginal gains, those small things add up all of the time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. If you've enjoyed the video today, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.